Hey movie fans, so today we're going to do something a little bit different because on the day that this video is going to come out, it will be the 10-year anniversary of the very first video that I ever published on this channel talking about Toy Story 4. A decade later, a lot has changed, as you can clearly see, but I just wanted to take a step back, say thank you so much for all of you that have stuck with the channel all these years, whether you're a longtime subscriber, a new subscriber, anywhere in between. I just kind of wanted to look back on the 10 years of Uncharted Media, say thanks, kind of give you some stories and anecdotes behind the scenes, as well as kind of talk about the stuff that I kind of want to do going forward. Not drastic changes, but some ideas that I'm floating around. Kind of want to get your feedback, but more importantly, what's your all-time favorite video that's ever been posted on this channel? I'm very curious because I know a lot of you come from a lot of different backgrounds of finding me from various different things. This channel has experimented with a whole bunch of different videos over the years. What's your favorite Uncharted Media video that I've ever posted? Because we're going to talk about some of them today. But first, we've got to talk about the one that started it all, Toy Story 4, good idea, bad idea. So, oh boy, there's some people that are very nostalgic for this video. I am not one of them, just because I was so convinced I was gonna have a good first video, because there's always these people talking about like your first video, your first idea, your first podcast episode, whatever. It's always your worst. It's like, that ain't gonna be me. Guys, it's not a good video, but if you want to see the early days of Uncharted Media, whew. So this basically stems out of, at the time, I was doing a written blog, not YouTube videos yet. I was doing a written blog, a WordPress, just because I had thoughts and ideas about movie stuff that I just wanted to get out in the ether. I didn't really care if anybody saw it or anything. When they were announcing Toy Story 4, Toy Story has always been near and dear to my heart. The first Toy Story was the first movie I ever saw in theaters, so when they announced Toy Story 4 after the perfect ending that was Toy Story 3, it's like, okay, gotta talk about this, but I think a video format would be better than just written words. So I had no plan, no nothing. I duct taped my phone to a bunk bed in our college apartment and recorded that, basically. It was like maybe 5-10 feet away using the camera's audio from the phone. It was just bad. I had no plan, nothing. Just talking Toy Story 4, upload on YouTube, and that was that. But it was instrumental to me getting used to being on camera, learning what good and bad sound is, because
Toy Story 3 ended so perfectly. Why are you continuing this franchise? It seems like an obvious cash grab.
I don't know if you know this, people, but if you just use the internal microphone on whether it's a camera, your phone, whatever, and put it 5 to 10 feet away, yeah. So I'm gonna kind of be bouncing around all over the place in this video, just talk about different stuff. So let's talk about the videos that probably led you to this channel in the first place. There's two in particular that really helped get this channel to where it is today. So the one that was the biggest surprise to me was the Smallville retrospective. Now, Heather and I started watching Smallville in 2021, around the same time that Superman and Lois debuted. So we were watching those in tandem. We were watching new episodes of Superman and Lois, and then we were watching Smallville for the first time. But I was about halfway through the show, I was like, okay, if I'm investing 10 seasons worth of content and watching this for a very long time, I'm gonna do a video on this, whether people like it or not. Apparently, a lot more of you grew up with Smallville than I anticipated, because that's just one that continues to go along. I'm not complaining at all. I love seeing your comments, your love and appreciation for Smallville. It's a very entertaining show that's incredibly spotty. I enjoy it for the most part, but it is always hard for me to recommend. People are like, oh, should I check out Smallville? I'm like, how patient are you? Because there's some great stuff. And then there's some, like, a character will randomly turn into a witch. But that really resonated with a lot of you and helped get the channel to where it is now. The other video that I will always be particularly protective of, the Pitching a Nightwing trilogy. We're just gonna lump all three parts into one because I put them all into one video, and that's the one that you guys really responded with, which makes me really, really happy, because it was a very personal story to me, because, like I've said, it was something I basically created from scratch, of creating the whole story, the whole narrative, editing it, music, everything. It's a video that's so unlike everything else on the channel. It allowed me to dip my toes into creative stuff, like the writing aspect of things, which I really, really like, and I want to do more of that on the channel going forward. Spoiler alert / tease, what I'm thinking I want to do more pitches, but probably like one a year. So basically, you know, what I have been doing. And the one that I'm looking at for 2025, because I asked you guys, and you overwhelmingly said you wanted this, so 2025's most likely going to be pitching a Teen Titans movie, basically spinning off of how much you guys like the Nightwing trilogy. But that one was that's one of the most personal videos to me, just because you all know my love of Nightwing, but also it was something like you guys let me experiment with the channel, try something different, and overwhelmingly positive, which was a big old relief for me, because it's like, are people gonna like this writing? They're gonna like the story directions that I take certain things. There's a lot of things that I left on the cutting room table, and some of you have asked about that, and that's totally cool. So let's peel back the curtain on Nightwing a little bit here. This was actually originally intended to just be a one and done video, just pitching a solo movie, but towards the tail end of me finishing up the first video, I was like, you know, there's more story to tell here. When I was putting the finishing touches on the first one and thinking about a 2 and 3, the story was going to take a drastically different direction than what the final product was. I originally intended part 2 to be Deathstroke, but it was going to be Nightwing and Batgirl fighting Deathstroke. Basically, the whole time Batgirl was going to be trying to convince Nightwing to make amends with Batman, because, you know, that's always been a prevalent theme in that whole storyline that I did. But the big plot twist was Nightwing Part 2 would have ended with Batman dying before we even see him, before Nightwing ever gets the chance to make amends with him. And at Part 3, it would have been a battle for the cowl situation. It would have been Nightwing basically taking up the Batman mantle. I kind of scrapped that for obvious reasons, because I think it made the story less of a Nightwing story and more of a Batman-centered story, and it didn't have a happier ending. Not necessarily happy, but more of a conclusive ending. I also kind of toyed with the idea of killing Alfred at one point. I also toyed with the idea of Deathstroke being hired by the Court of Owls at one point, but I scrapped that as well. So something I started doing a lot more over the past few years that you guys seem to really enjoy is more like video essay type stuff. So if I had to pinpoint 2 in particular that I'm really, really proud of, is Iron Giant really a Superman movie, and my long-term storytelling video about Sami Zayn in the WWE. As you can clearly tell, I've always been a huge Iron Giant fan, and as I get older, I become more and more of a Superman fan, just because I enjoy the idea of a good person in a more complicated and difficult world. Iron Giant is 100% a Superman movie. It's still the best Superman movie, and it's one of my favorite movies, period. So getting to talk about that for however long I did, I enjoyed that video. But the one I was very surprised about was the long-term storytelling one. Ironically, the same year that I started the channel, I became a wrestling fan. I started the channel in November, but it was back in January for the Royal Rumble that I watched my first WWE show, and I got very curious about it and just became a big wrestling fan, just because I like stories in any format, whether it's TV, movies, comics, wrestling. Wrestling is essentially just comic book characters in a ring. It's telling a narrative. I have one wrestler that's always been one of my favorites, him and Daniel Bryan, but Sami Zayn has always been my guy. I was always kind of hesitant about making that video just because this channel, for the most part, despite being called Uncharted Media, has always been very movie heavy. So to take such a hard pivot away to something else, I didn't know if you guys would actually like it or not. But you guys really seem to enjoy it, and ironically, the timing of it was perfect, because I had it come out around WrestleMania season, just because, you know, search engine, people are going to be searching up stuff about wrestling. But the fact that he actually won a championship that weekend at WrestleMania was like, oh yeah, timing. I totally meant to do that. So these next 2 that I'm going to talk about are funny because they are really for the die-hard fans. If you really want to go back into the archives here, back before it was Uncharted Media, if y'all remember, the first name for this channel was Movie Guy 17, and then I changed it just because I thought that sounded too much like just an online username, and then I switched it to 17 Movie Reviews, and then I switched it. Both of these videos, if I remember correctly, predate the Uncharted Media naming and branding whatsoever, so that's how old these two videos are, but they're some of my all-time favorites because of the fun I had with the people involved. We've got to talk about 5 good things, specifically 5 good things about The Happening. 5 good things about Batman and Robin was my first 5 good things, and I really enjoyed it, but it wasn't until we brought in the chaotic piece that is Josh with 5 good things about The Happening that I feel like the channel shifted. Like, I teamed up with some of my buddies in college for various videos, whether it was Josh, whether it was Michael, Heather's been in a couple of videos. I just enjoy working with other people and collaborating on stuff, but Josh and I always had so much fun with videos. We had a natural chemistry from the get-go, which led to the podcast down the road, which we'll talk about in a little bit here. But 5 good things about The Happening. Suffering through movies sucks, but suffering through movies with friends is so much better. And suffering through movies with Josh in college was such an enjoyable, entertaining experience. We had like Nicolas Cage month of just watching bad Nicolas Cage movies. 5 good things also taught both of us that even in the worst of movies, there's still good things to be gleaned from it. So it kind of shifted our perspective. The other Josh related video that I absolutely love, but it's also because it is very much a selfish video. Both of us just want to do it. It has terrible numbers. No one watched it. No one cared. We didn't, because it was still one of the most fun videos and most chaotic videos we've ever done. Is DC meets the WWE. This was just, hey, let's be stupid, because at this point we didn't really know what the channel was. We were just throwing up random movie related videos. We're like, okay, if we were to cast the DC universe with WWE wrestlers, who would play them and why? It's just super rapid fire, no real context or reasoning why we picked the people that we did. It was just goofy and off the rails and unserious, but that was the channel at that point, and I really enjoyed those times of experimentation, of figuring out, okay, what are we doing with the channel, and how do we work on it? How do we just have fun with it? Because at that point, it was still learning and experimenting, and how does the camera properly work? How do we get better audio? How does lighting work? And it was all over the place, but it was still chaotic fun. So fast forward the timeline to about 2018. Josh and I have both graduated from college, so we're not really in the vicinity to be recording videos together, but I was in a not so great job and I really needed a creative outlet. So I just hit up Josh and be like, hey, you want to do a podcast together? Because I was listening to a lot of podcasts at that job. So get this, it doesn't sound like it could be that difficult. So basically, from me pitching the idea to Josh to us actually recording and releasing our first episode was maybe about 6 or 7 days. There was no foresight, no planning, no idea what we were doing whatsoever. We basically just lifted the format from Mr. Sunday Movies podcast of, here's the first half where we talk about the past week's movie news, and then the second half is just a specific topic that's connected to something current. So if there was anything from the podcast that I would highlight as like my favorites, one, it would be the 200th episode, just because that's like the greatest hits, and it showcases the chaotic nature that can come about when Josh and I are in the room together. But the other one that I always look back fondly on is both the rebooking the DC Universe ones and the rebooting the Universal Monsters ones. So basically for those, Josh and I came up with our own story ideas for what we would like to see for both the DC Universe and the Universal Monster movies if they ever did a shared universe for those. And I think Josh and I would both agree, we like the creative process. We like writing stuff. I like it a whole lot more than I thought I would, because I had an aversion to writing for the longest time, just because it felt like when you're in school, it's a forced thing. Now that you do it on your own free will, you're like, you know, kind of like this. I want to do more of that in the future going forward. So those were a lot of fun to pitch our own ideas. They were mini pitch videos without all the intensive editing that is required of pitch videos. Now, lastly, for videos that I want to talk about, just because I'm nostalgic for them and they hold a special place in my heart, but I don't do nearly enough, are the montages, whether it's the year-end montage or the horror nights montages. I really enjoy that just because it's a different style of editing. I like going out with an actual camera, filming stuff, just having fun, just creating the own shots, creating the own edits. It's a lot of fun, creating a narrative, creating a story with the cuts. I want to do more of that. That's something I want to do more of in the channel going forward. I don't really know how to go about that just yet. So if you have ideas, let me know down in the comments. But that is something I really, really enjoy. Fun fact, before I had my first video on the channel, I already had a couple montages for college classes. So some of the early videos on the channel were just re-uploads from class projects that I did, like Salute to Indie Movies and whatnot. With that in mind, what are some things that I have planned for the future of Uncharted Media? I am not going anywhere anytime soon. I don't plan on it. I actually plan to do more stuff going forward. 2024 has been a great year for the channel. I feel like we've really hit a good stride of what type of content we work on here. But like I said, I want to do more montages. I want to do more pitches, more narrative and writing stuff, if that's stuff you guys are interested in. But at the same time, I don't want this to be all just stuff I make for me and hope people like it. I want your genuine feedback. What do you want to see in the next 10 years of Uncharted Media if this whole thing lasts another 10 years? It's just weird to me that it's been a decade of YouTube videos, and it's just crazy to me. Again, I cannot thank you guys enough. Whether you're a longtime subscriber, new subscriber, 10 years of anything is a really long time. There's a lot of videos on the channel, a lot of podcast episodes. Have they all been great? I know for a fact that not all of them are. By and large, you guys have been overwhelmingly kind, even when the videos aren't the best, but I try my best to always put the best foot out there. I always try and respond to you guys. I'm happy with the community that we've created on this channel. This is a great, fun thing to do. I'm happy for the connections that I made through YouTube, but that's another thing that I would like to do in the future. I would like to collaborate with more people. So if there's channels that you think would be interested in teaming up, or you think I should team up with them, let me know. I would love to appear on other people's channels or have some other people on the channel. I think that could be a really cool concept. Well, what do you guys think? What are some things you want to see in the future of Uncharted Media? What are your all-time favorite videos? What are your least favorite videos of all time? What are the worst takes you've seen me give on the channel? Because I'm sure I've got plenty. Whatever your thoughts, let me know down in the comments below. And as always,
stay sharp, movie guys and gals.